A few days before you begin Lesson 1, you'll send home Family Tool 1.1. Family tools play an important role in this unit. They are designed to engage children and families in learning more about COVID-19 and are meant to help you learn more about families' knowledges and practices so you can better support student learning. It is not important that families fill out the tool itself in paper or electronic form. While that would be nice, the most important thing is that students have a chance to talk with their families about the questions and ideas included in the family tools. If you'd like more information about what family tools are, why they are a part of this unit, and a table of contents of where they are used in the unit, an overview of family tools in the COVID-19 and Health Equity unit is provided in the unit materials. Lesson 1 is about drawing on our experiences with COVID-19 and using them as a starting point for the unit. We think about how our lives have changed and how we may be making different decisions because of COVID-19. We also talk about how we feel about COVID-19 and these changes. In between days 1 and 2 of this lesson, you'll send home Family Tool 1.2. Students think with their families about the places they have been and the people they see and create a visual web to support their work the next day in class. On day 2, your class will work to map their community and explore how the places people live might influence how COVID-19 has affected them. Throughout the lesson, students will be asking questions about the virus and how our lives have changed and adding them to a driving question board. Details about how to set up and use the driving question board are provided in the Lesson 1 teacher guide. You might be wondering about how you can begin this unit and get families and students talking about the changes and decisions they have been making because of COVID-19. Let's hear more about that.
So starting this unit, I decided to fill out the family tool myself after having a conversation with my mom. And I did that because I wanted to model that vulnerability for my students and to show them what a family tool looks like the first time. And then I sent it home for the kids to do. And so my launch was really centered in that family tool and the family conversations kids were bringing into the classroom. And it was a really nice way to start a routine. In fact, some families eventually ended up using that tool as a Friday night dinner conversation that they did every week.
This unit is designed to incorporate social-emotional learning. We felt like this was a really important aspect to embed within a unit about COVID-19 because we have a lot of emotions about what has been happening during this pandemic, and we're making lots of decisions that affect ourselves and others. Also, we know from developmental psychologists that it is helpful when students have a safe space to share their feelings. If you'd like to learn more about what experts and research say about children's conceptions of illness and death, one of the resources we have provided with the unit materials specifically addresses this topic. One example of social-emotional learning embedded in this unit is when students create a feelings wheel in the first lesson that can be used throughout the unit. You might be familiar with feelings wheels. They are used as a tool to help students have words to talk about how they feel. In this unit, students develop their own feelings wheels instead of using one that already exists, so they can use their own words, categorize them into groups that make sense to them, and visually represent their feelings in any way they feel is appropriate. You might be wondering how developing and using a feelings wheel supported students in this unit. Let's hear more about that.
We first started the lesson by creating a word cloud on different feelings. I then identified one of them, which happened to be the word sad. It was most often the word that was used by my students to describe how they were feeling about being in a pandemic and the situations that they were facing at home. We then used an online dictionary to find synonyms for those particular words, and we practiced how to use those more specific vocabulary words like anxious, feeling panicked, feeling frightened. It was very important for my students to do this, especially coming from a Native American community where expressing feelings is not always encouraged. There is a feeling and a strong push to be strong through tough situations and to not talk about experiences that might bring those negative feelings into existence. As a Native American woman from the community, I really had to model how to talk about my feelings. So I talked about how I was also feeling frightened. I talked about how I was feeling anxious. Through that experience, my students were better able to express their feelings, not just during those particular lessons, but for the rest of the school year. I really feel like it helped them alleviate the stress that they were feeling during the pandemic.
The feelings wheel in my classroom was really rooted in Family Tool 1.1. It was great because the students had already had a conversation about some of the changes that were happening because of COVID and how they felt about it. And so they came in already ready to discuss it. And even students who were not able to fill out the tool benefited from the momentum of the students who were able to do that. And so once we had those feelings out in our classroom, we jotted them down in the chart and we were able to organize them. Because the family tool had students sharing a lot of different experiences that they had in COVID and how they felt about it, it gave us a lot of different language when we were talking about our feelings. So our feeling wheels was built around that language, and we were able to go back and revisit the feelings wheel when we were encountering some of the more difficult content later lessons. And honestly, it really helped me as an educator because I think I'm used to teaching something for the content and moving on when students understood it. And I really saw the importance of stopping and asking students how they were feeling about the content that I was teaching.